transcription is here. Something serious is going to happen. I better
Test.
watch what I say. It'll be memorialized.
No. Thank you.
Sure. They're gonna need it. That
Okay, welcome to the Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for December 3rd, 2025. First item is approved minutes for our meeting of November 25th, 2025. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Morning, Mr. Chair. There are 3 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is a notice of acquisition from Crown Castle and other entities. Item number 2 consists of revised SOS rate tariff pages from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company. And item number 3 is a request for an extension for a solar project from Enterprise Road Solar LLC.
Okay, regarding item 1, I move we note the transaction and filing and note the transfer of Crown Castle Fiber LLC of certain of its fiber customers and network assets to Fiber Asset Company. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye. Item 2, I move we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of December 1, 2025. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye. And then regarding item 3, I move we grant the requested limited waiver of COMAR 20.62.03.04C and extend the operational deadline for the project to November 30, 2026. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
You vote aye.
I vote aye. Sorry.
Item number 4 on the administrative agenda consists of various proposals from Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, Inc.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Brandon Bowser on behalf of staff. Before I get started, I have one small correction to note to the buck sheet. On page 13, in footnote 57, there is an instance of Smecco's Brandon Bowser. The word Smecco should obviously be deleted. On September 15th, 2025, Smecco submitted proposed revisions to its Schedule SL, Street Lighting Service, and Schedule AL, Area Lighting Service, under its Retail Electric Service Tariff. The proposed revisions adjust rates for LED lighting options for Schedule SL and AL customer members, adjust certain terms and conditions of service, and modify tariff language to improve clarity of information. On September 23, 2025, Smecco submitted updates to the September 15th filing, which adjusts the facilities charge for 2 LED lighting options for the purpose of streamlining billing activities and removes a duplicative section of Schedule AL that was not removed in the September 15th filing. On November 13th, 2025, Smecco submitted updates to the September 15th and September 23 filings. This was in response to staff's discovery throughout the course of its analysis that the polls and miscellaneous other charge component of its Schedule SL rate was being applied to customer members with lighting bracket lengths of 6 to 10 feet. The current Schedule SL tariff language states that these charges should only be applied to customer members with bracket lengths 12 to 18 feet. Smecco confirmed that the untariffed charge was being applied in its response to a staff data request, and in that response indicated that they would submit an update to the instant filing, which they did via the November 13th filing. This update corrects the language to confirm the applicability of the polls and miscellaneous other charge to all bracket lengths, that is, 6 to 18 feet. And the update also adjusts the facilities charge for LED lighting options under both schedules SL and AL to account for the additional distribution revenue that has been recovered through the untariffed charges. Staff has reviewed the proposed tariff language modifications specified in the filings. These modifications, if approved, would clarify what customer member types are permitted to receive service, clarify that the provision of service to customer members utilizes assets owned and operated by the cooperative, meaning poles, mounting brackets, and associated ancillary equipment and materials, clarify the applicability of certain charge components, clarify how contribution and aid of construction, or kayak charges, are calculated and applied, correct minor grammatical and formatting errors under the current schedules, standardize the general provisions section between both schedules, remove the conversion charge section in both schedules, remove the minimum service term and related early termination charge schedule for Schedule SL, add a minimum 24-month service term to Schedule AL and related $250 early termination fee, and list LED lighting options and cost components by specific type, similar to how HID lighting options are listed in the current tariff, rather than listing them as above and below a certain lumen rating. Staff concludes that these modifications would improve clarity of information for customer members, streamline terms and conditions of service between schedules with highly similar characters of service, and appropriately assign minimum service terms and early termination fees. Regarding the last item, SMECO explained to staff in data request responses and in a November 20, 2025 meeting with staff that Schedule SL customer members are typically government entities that furnish street lighting for critical and safety-related purposes. Further, the company stated that Schedule AL customer members are mostly residential in nature with area lighting needs and more frequently request early service terminations. Schedule SL conversely does not do this given the criticality of the lighting service needs. As Schedule SL contains a minimum service term and early termination charges, and Schedule AL does not, staff finds it appropriate to remove the minimum service term and early termination charges from Schedule SL and add a minimum service term to Schedule AL. Staff also finds it appropriate to remove the conversion charge on both schedules. The conversion charge is applicable to customer members that elect to convert a high-intensity discharge, or HID light, to an LED light. SMECO ceased offering new HID service to its customer members in 2020, a decision which was approved by the Commission as part of prior requested Schedule SL and AL modifications, which also included approval of SMECO's LED offerings. SMECO further explained in a data request response that there exists an industry-wide phase-out of HID lighting, and as such, HID fixtures and related parts for legacy fixtures are unavailable. Staff inquired about how the cooperative would recover costs for customer member conversions, and the cooperative responded that they would absorb the costs and would seek to address recovery in a future base rate case proceeding. Further, the conversion charge applies only to customer members that convert HID lighting to LED. The cooperative has only offered LED lighting options since 2020, which functionally limits the impact to the preceding 5 years. The cooperative explained in the November 20 meeting with staff that such costs would be allocated to the appropriate customer classes in a class cost of service study for its next base distribution rate case and would avoid class cross-subsidization. Considering the stated industry phase-out of HID lighting options, the cooperative's stated intent to seek prudent recovery in a future base rate case proceeding, and the isolated impact and in consideration of the efficiency benefits and lower operational costs LED lighting options provide, staff concludes that the removal of the HID to LED conversion charge is appropriate. Staff's recommended tariff language for schedules SL and AL can be found in Attachment C to the buck sheet. Attachment C contains staff's modifications to the clean version of both schedules as filed by SMECO on November 13th to remove the changes to base distribution rates. Please note, a revised copy of Attachment C was prepared and provided to you and the company on Tuesday, December 2nd, which I will discuss further in my comments. Concerning distribution rate modifications. SMECO customer members that receive service under Schedule SL and AL are unmetered and charged a fixed amount per street light or area light based on the cost of providing service. The total per light charge is composed of up to 5 different components as applicable. These include A, standard offer service charge, B, distribution charge, C, facilities charge, D, public service company franchise tax, and E, polls and miscellaneous additional charges, as well as any applicable taxes and other charges. It should be noted that B, C, and E are distribution base rates. The current schedules SL and AL group together the charges for different LED options and charge customer members a rate based on the resulting average costs. The proposed revisions to the rates under Schedule SL and AL itemize rates between LED lighting options, and the cooperative has stated that doing so will allow for more accurate customer member billing and recovery of the actual costs associated with providing these lighting services. Total distribution revenue impacts are neutral per the information provided in the filings. SMECO calculates what facilities charges for LEDs would be at present costs and then reduces these calculated facilities charges by 80%. This results in no net change in distribution revenue based on Schedule SL and AL light fixture inventory totals. It should be noted that inventory levels provided by the cooperative in the course of staff's analysis are current as of July 2025, which are different from those used to set distribution rates for SL and AL in the last rate case. Staff asked SMECO about this missing distribution revenue in a data request, specifically how the cooperative intended to pay for the 20% difference. The cooperative, in its response, indicated that it would incur the cost and seek recovery in a future base rate case proceeding. This was further confirmed via a call between staff and the cooperative on October 9th. Tables 1 and 2 on pages 10 and 11 of the buck sheet provide a comparison between current Schedule SL facilities charges and those proposed as of the November 13th filing, and tables 3 and 4 on pages 12 and 13 of the buck sheet provide this comparison for Schedule AL. As demonstrated, if approved, the rate modifications would result in facilities charges between 39% lower and 263% higher than those under the current tariff schedules. The proposed rate changes, as presented and discussed above, result in a revenue recovery shift between schedules. Specifically, the proposed LED rate modifications as presented in the filings would result in a revenue recovery shift from Schedule AL customer members to Schedule SL in the amount of $61,491. While staff appreciates the desire to more accurately align costs of specific lighting services with resulting rates, staff notes the cooperative has requested modification of Schedule SL and Schedule AL based distribution rate facilities charges extraneous to a rate case proceeding. Staff notes that the specific rate component, B, distribution, is not changing except for a proposed change to the distribution component for the 20,000 lumen Colonial Post Top Metal Halide lighting option, which proposes to reduce it by 5 cents to bring it into parity with all other distribution component charges for all other lighting options. Further, per the revised Attachment C, staff recommends retaining the E, poles, and miscellaneous additional charges component of the rates for overhead and underground LED lighting options for both schedules. The initial version of Attachment C had added this charge component back for Schedule SL, but erroneously did not do so for Schedule AL. Staff notes that making base distribution rate modifications in this manner is generally against Commission precedent. There exist many different factors that can impact formulated rates in a rate case proceeding, which could not be reasonably known or accounted for in an instance of single-issue rate making, such as in the instant filing. The Commission has historically avoided issues of single-issue rate making, as discussed on pages 8 to 9 of the buck sheet. Staff does not contest modifications to the standard offer service charge portion of each lighting type, as SOS charges are intended to be pass-through charges to ratepayers for the actual costs of energy furnished to customer members and are not considered in a base rate case proceeding. Similar to the proposed changes to facilities charges, the proposed modifications to SOS charges also list each lighting type with corresponding SOS charge. If approved, SOS charges would be more closely calculated with their actual costs of service rather than average usage across lighting types, thus improving the element of cost causation in the established rates. Now, concerning the discovery of untariffed charges. Staff requested the workbooks that SMECO relied on to prepare Exhibit C to the September 15th filing. As previously discussed, staff in the course of its analysis discovered that the calculation of current class distribution revenues appeared to indicate that a per fixture cost for the streetlight brackets was being applied under Schedule SL for bracket lengths that, per the current Schedule SL tariff language, should not be applied. The cooperative confirmed this in response to a data request. Staff notes this issue is not the focus of the requested tariff modifications in the instant filing, and the cooperative has agreed to work with staff to remedy this issue and address it in a future proceeding. Attachment D and its related appendices provide a more detailed discussion of the untariffed charges and actions taken to date. Staff recommends that the Commission, 1, accept the Schedule SL and Schedule AL tariff modifications discussed herein and as shown in the revised Attachment C, 2, deny the proposed modifications to base distribution rates, and 3, take action on the untariffed charges discussed herein in a separate proceeding. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
So, questions for staff? All right, seeing none?
Good morning, Chair Hoover and members of the Commission. Damon Krieger on behalf of Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative. First of all, let me say that the collaboration between staff and the cooperative has been very, very good with the connection to this filing. And we're about 90% of the way aligned. The 10% that remains, though, is very important to the cooperative and to our customer members and our lighting business. And that's why there's an entourage with me today of members from SMECO that support the lighting business. So with respect to that open 10%, there are issues before the commission that need to be resolved. And so bear with me while I go through a list of items that are very important to us. First of all, an effective date, which is not in dispute, of January 1st, 2026 is very important. And the reason is there's a lot of back office work to support the new structure that is already underway and needs to continue throughout the month of December to put us in a place. And we would have to rework a lot of things to the extent that the effective date doesn't hold true. I don't think there's any dispute as to an effective date for the tariff, but I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Second of all, the version that the cooperative supports and requests approval of is the version of the tariff schedule SL and AL that we filed on November 13th. And that's under mail log number 324264. That was a corrected version to address a certain issue that did arise during discovery. So that is the operative version of Schedule SL and AL that we request approval of today. It is important for the Commission to step back and appreciate the rationale behind this filing in the first place, which is to streamline the lighting business for the benefit of our customer members that receive lighting services, to make it easier to appreciate, to understand the lighting options available, and encourage the movement from traditional HID lighting fixtures to energy efficient LED fixtures, which is the only available service under the new lighting regime, because as noted by staff, the HID fixtures are now phased out. You can't get them. So LED is the only option today. So a couple of important considerations with respect to staff's proposals here. First and foremost, the requested changes to the facilities charges, as staff noted, were designed to be revenue neutral, meaning that with respect to the authorized distribution revenues in our last rate case, there is no change. There is no windfall here. There couldn't be a windfall anyway because we're a not-for-profit cooperative. But that being aside, we are not seeking to increase the amount of revenues that the Commission has authorized. We are just attempting to streamline and set rates for our lighting services that are consistent with current costs for administering that, and also, as between our street lighting and area line of business, make sure that customers have clarity as to the types of services available. For example, one of the points of conflict here is, as between the two schedules, we offer identical fixtures, identical services. So from the customer perspective, if they're looking at Schedule L and seeing a price tag of $5 as an example, and then in Schedule AL they see a price tag of $6 for the same exact fixture, that causes confusion. So we're trying to make the price the same, $5 or $6 in my example, so that there's no customer confusion. Staff objects to that in this scenario. Again, revenue neutral. There's no attempt to increase our revenues outside of a rate case, simply to better align the services with the cost of the fixtures today. So I would say now that we're open to questions from the Commission. At the same time, to the extent that we get into staff's version of Schedules SL and AL, we do have some concerns with their version as presented, and happy to address that. And there's one in particular that we're very concerned about, and so we would like to bring that to the Commission's attention, but happy to entertain questions as a starting point.
Okay, any questions for SMECO? Commissioner McLean?
Morning, sir. How is this not single issue rate making, even though you're not increasing your revenue?
Well, I think that's the starting point here, in the sense that we are not looking to change rates for the purpose of increasing our revenues outside of a rate case. In fact, most customers receiving lighting services will see a reduction in the amount that they charge for lighting service, a reduction. And in fact, one of the items that has been included in staff's version of the tariff are with respect to brackets and a line item charge for brackets and poles. We don't want that there. In fact, it's a real problem from an administrative perspective to keep those two line item charges in the tariff. In that instance, staff has argued that it should be in there because of single issue rate making. We're willing to forego those charges, forego that revenue. The cooperative has said we will not collect that revenue. Single issue rate making was never intended to address a situation where a company is willing to forego revenue outside of a rate case. Again, to the benefit of our customer members. And so the Commission has discretion with respect to addressing these types of charges under its general rate making authority outside of a rate case. And again, given who we are, what we're trying to achieve here, revenue neutral, reducing costs for customers. On the Schedule AL side, many of whom are residential, or all of whom are really residential,
But some customers will see an increase, is that correct?
a very slight increase. Some customers, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Suchman?
So actually, so you and staff have a difference of opinion in terms of the effective date? Or I'm a little confused about that. Are you both in agreement on the effective date?
Yes, Commissioner, we.
Okay, so if you could just be a little clearer about where the differences are, because I actually thought that the effective date was a concern. So you're in agreement on the effective date. So the issue is around. If you can go
The
ahead.
issues are around what's going to be made effective as of January 1st. So the specific items in the tariff to be made effective. I don't think there's any dispute as to making the changes effective as of January 1st.
Okay, so you want changes to the tariff. They're disagreeing because of single issue rate making.
To the rates, yes. I mean, we're aligned 90% of the way. So there are a lot of tariff changes that we've proposed and staff is aligned with. I don't want to speak for staff, but as indicated in their buck sheet, they are aligned on our tariff changes. The rates are where we have a hang up right now.
Okay,
Changes to the rates themselves.
maybe staff can respond. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Just to clarify, staff is not disputing the tariff language modifications. We're very supportive of those. We have specific issue with changing distribution base rates outside of a rate case proceeding. So all other changes that they have proposed, we are in support of, but that specific change, that is to the distribution base rates, we do not support.
Okay, and then if we were not to allow those changes to go into effect, what would be the effect on your ratepayers?
So basically, we'd be maintaining the status quo in terms of distribution rates. Our SOS rates would change based upon the actual costs. It's a pass-through. So as staff has indicated, it supports the changes to the SOS component of the lighting service. But the distribution items would stay the same. And so in our next rate case, presumably there would be an opportunity to reset the rates based upon a cost of service study that occurs at that time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But I do want to we would not follow we don't like following rate cases, first of all. And second of all, we would not
Well, we
file a
don't
rate
necessarily want to see you file a rate
case.
case.
And we would not file a rate case just for light. Or we certainly don't want to be put in a position where we feel like we have to file a rate case just to address lighting services alone. And so that's another reason why this is important to at least consider the proposals we've had today to change rates such that we are not put in a position where we have to come in for a full rate case just to address.
Well, I mean,
Issues associated with lighting.
the problem is that it does present a slippery slope, because I understand your concern about not wanting to present a rate case just for this small issue, but then we can hear from some other utilities about well, this is just a very small issue. We really don't want to file a rate case, but it is single issue rate making, and so I'm a little concerned about the slippery slope aspect of it.
And let me address one aspect if that I could. Lighting services has always been treated differently by this commission. And the reason is it's not a monopoly service. Lighting services can be provided by any electrician on the residential side. And for the government, they have jurisdiction over their streets. And so some municipalities have their own lighting services. It is not a monopoly service in the true sense of the word. And so lighting has been addressed over time for a variety of reasons outside of rate cases. LED conversions, obviously, to support the state policy for energy efficiency has been permitted outside of rate cases. So there are examples where we've addressed lighting outside of the context of a rate case.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Linton?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Actually, you just touched on the topic and question that I had. Are there any other customers of the cooperative that are interested in purchasing or having more control over their street lighting to the point where they may not need to participate under all of the requirements of your tariff?
So I may defer to others, but our customers have choices, and in fact,
Right.
that's one thing we're trying to facilitate here is to make sure there's a clear understanding of the choices available from SMECO. But to the extent that they want to purchase lighting services from Jane Joe Electrician, they can.
Okay. Can they purchase the equipment, purchase it from you directly?
We do not just sell equipment and not the parts. No.
Okay.
The electrician would have to procure it from its own stock.
So it either be exclusively their own setup or purchased exclusively from SMECO.
That's correct.
There's no sharing of,
There's not a sharing per se. I mean, they could certainly procure one type of lighting service from another third party and then a lighting service from the cooperative. But we don't share in the sense I think you illustrated.
okay. Yeah, and some of the other companies they would offer maintenance for the system, but you don't.
We don't do that.
You don't do it, okay. Okay.
And I don't think we have and that would be on perhaps a street lighting context. We
Right.
don't have that scenario in our jurisdiction.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was all I had.
So, discuss with me who your lighting customers are, because I guess I'm sort of used to the situation with Pepco between the various municipalities and the arguments they have over streetlights. Sounds like your situation is a little different. So.
Yeah, I don't know if it's different per se. We have towns, municipalities that have street lights under our Schedule SL, and we have, any homeowner could procure or community could procure area lighting for their homes through us as well. So I think it's very similar in that respect.
All right. But I guess the big question is there's apparently peace between you and the municipalities when it comes to the street lighting, unlike the Pepco situation where they're kind of at each other's throats. So.
We have not experienced any concerns from our customers similar to what Pepco. There's no interest right now in having a town take over
I
our
see.
lighting system.
Okay.
If that's the correct question.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do, since this is a little, I won't say tricky, but there's some technical aspects, we're going to take this under advisement and then issue a written order in a few days or so to decide how we're going to plow through this. So.
Can I want to make sure
Sure.
that there's one clarifying point, and appreciate you taking consideration of the matter. Under the staff proposed version of Schedule SL and AL, there is a section E, which refers to polls and miscellaneous additional charges. We don't want, so to the extent that the commission elects to use the staff version as a basis, we do not want those line items included. And the reason is because the whole purpose of this, again, is to streamline offerings. These are charges. So we are willing to forego the revenue, forego charging our customer members for those items. Again, staff's consistent position has been they feel it's single issue rate making to even take away charges and revenues from the cooperative. We're willing to give up that revenue. We're willing to give up those charges, give our customers, residential, commercial alike, a lower cost of service in order to streamline our lighting business. So that's section E. Originally it was just in the SL, and I think their amended sheet yesterday added it to the AL, to Schedule AL as well, to be consistent. But those are the brackets and the polls in Schedule E. We do not want those charges. And again, the reason is administrative simplicity. So we are willing to forego that revenue.
Okay. All right. Any particular response to that, or are you fine?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, we spoke with the company about this on our November 20th meeting, and we asked about how will you allocate these charges appropriately in the future. I believe I recall, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but SMECO mentioned that they would seek to track these charges and seek recovery in a future base rate case proceeding. I know you said forego the revenue, but I know we also talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer.
Please.
We would not be tracking in the sense of trying to create some sort of regulatory asset or anything. It's just to the extent that there are expenses involved with the lighting service in the test year, they would flow through in the normal course of a rate making proceeding. We are not looking to create any sort of special accounting mechanism in order to track and recover in a future proceeding any incremental cost there.
Okay. All right. Okay, so like I said, we're going to take it under advisement and then issue something in a few days. So.
Item number 5 is a request from Potomac Electric Power Company and Delmarva Power and Light Company to extend the company's smart charge management programs.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Deepa Fade on behalf of staff. On November 10th, 2025, the PHI Utilities filed a request for an extension of their managed charging programs to March 31st, 2026, for the authorization of Phase 2 of their electric vehicle portfolio. The Argonne National Labs report on estimated cost and load impacts of managed charging strategies concluded that managed charging provides greater peak reduction and, by extension, deferred infrastructure costs than time of use rates alone, especially as enrollment increases. In the first half of 2025, the PHI Utilities Smart Charge Management Program saw a 67% increase in enrollment compared to the previous reporting period, covering the second half of 2024. 89% of participants' weekday home charging was completed during off-peak hours, resulting in an average weekday reduction of 135 kilowatts in non-coincident peak demand across the PEPCO distribution system. Staff agrees with OPC's concerns about cost effectiveness and the need for a more tailored approach to administering managed charging programs in Maryland. Indeed, staff's comments on the Argonne National Lab report called for utility-specific consideration of implementation costs and program benefits before approving any expansion of managed charging programs in Phase 2. However, the PHI Utilities request for an extension through Q1 2026 would only require funds that have already been approved. In addition, staff does not recommend closing a program and possibly reopening the same program at a later date while awaiting a commission decision. Therefore, staff recommends the commission grant the extension, authorizing Delmarva Power and Light Company and Potomac Electric Power Company to extend their smart charge management programs to the earlier of March 31st, 2026, or the authorization of Phase 2 of their electric vehicle portfolio. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Commissioner Sichman.
So I'm assuming that when we're considering Phase 2, we can look at the A&L report at that time,
That is correct.
so we don't have to make a decision on that right now.
Could you clarify?
Well, so that the A&L report and the impact on TOU and the smart and the pilot, we can look at that at a later date.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But staff does know that there are limitations in the A&L report, namely that they don't consider actual grid conditions in Maryland and rely on many assumptions that would need to be modified for a more complete analysis.
Okay, but at this, so, I mean, it sounds from your response that there's more that we need to look at. We can't really make a determination about the impact of the A&L report now without sort of delving further into that report.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
Chair, if I could add.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay,
Drew
go
McCall
ahead.
on behalf of staff. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Just to respond, excuse me, Commissioner Sussman. So staff filed comments on the report a few months back. So based on the way you're asking the question, I would say you don't need to make any response to the report or ruling. It's simply informational. So I would say you could definitely consider it and read through it when you're considering your Phase 2 decisions. But there's no, at least my understanding is there's no ruling or order you have to issue because of that report. It's simply there to provide information for you.
And the value of the A&L report is it can help to inform
Yeah.
our analysis of the Phase 2
Yep. I
issues.
think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure.
Good morning, Chair Hoover, Commissioners, Isaac Lindenbaum, on behalf of the Office of People's Counsel. I think we agree with staff and we do not oppose PHI's extension request. However, we filed comments on this request because it directly relates to that Argonne National Labs report that was filed in the EV docket. And we believe that the Argonne report on its own is not a sufficient enough analysis of the smart charge management programs to make a decision on the utilities Phase 2 managed charging programs. And so for the record, I'd like to just briefly summarize our comments and concerns regarding the smart charge management programs and then make myself available for any questions. In Order 91297, issued on August 23rd, 2024, the Commission directed BGE to file with the Commission a report produced by the Argonne National Labs on the Maryland Exelon Utilities Smart Charge Management Pilot Program, which was originally funded primarily through a grant provided by the U.S. Department of Energy. On April 1st of this year, BGE filed the Argonne report with the Commission. That report repeatedly emphasized the importance of taking into account feeder-specific characteristics to maximize the benefits of smart charging. and the report specifically stated that optimizing cost efficiency requires tailored implementation rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. And as staff noted, pursuant to Commission directive, staff also filed comments on the report, and staff's comments noted the importance of structuring managed charging programs to account for feeder-level characteristics and recommended targeted enrollment of customers in smart charge management programs based on the areas of highest need on the grid. But utility smart charge management programs, as they stand today, are a one-size-fits-all approach. No managed charging program, no managed charging program takes into account feeder-specific information in its structure or incentive level. And so before approving any Phase 2 SCM program or finalizing BGE's SCM expansion request, the Commission should solicit comments on the Argonne National Labs report and the PC44 EV Workgroup report and hold a hearing to discuss stakeholders' positions on the proper incentive levels for managed charging programs. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Fleshman?
I've spoken earlier in other proceedings about the importance of getting information like feeder constraints into the analysis. I'm assuming that we're not done reviewing these programs, and midway through the Phase 2 program, we can look further into this. I mean, I'd like to get these programs sort of going, but I don't believe that we are abandoning our interest in making them work as efficiently and effectively as possible. And one of the best ways of doing that is to make sure that it's targeted to the needs of the grid. And I agree with you. But I do think that there's value in getting this sort of moving along, but not abandoning the importance of reviewing the results of the pilot.
That makes sense
Okay.
from our perspective. I think we agree. I would just note that the Smart Charge Management Program is not a new program. It's been in existence since 2021 and has been through several phases already. And so that's why we think now with the Argonne report, given the status of the Phase 2 filings, now is the right time to have that conversation.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to sort of get the program moving along, but don't forget that we are interested, and maybe this is a message to PEPCO as well. We're trying to make these programs work as effectively as possible. Getting that information about constraints on the grid wherever they are needs to inform how the program is working. So I hear what you're saying. I agree. But I think we need to sort of get the pilots moving along, but not forget that we have to continue to look at ways of making the pilots and the program itself work as effectively as possible. So thank you.
Okay. Let the company talk.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Sorry for a quick second here. So, first, I do want to thank the staff and OPC for recommending that the Commission approve our immediate extension request, which is what is the instant filing that brought us here today. Before I go into some of my other points about what we're currently discussing here, I do want to focus on the customer really quickly. This is a program where the customer enrollments are steadily increasing. And in fact, because we had to pause enrollments because of this need for this extension request, we've got customers on the wait list. I think that's key. Customers are wanting to participate in this program, and we're seeing great benefits, and customers are wanting to take part. Just to give you some numbers, the total of enrollments for PHI is 1,800 customers. To OPC's recommendation that the Commission have or solicit additional comments and undergo a review period of the ANL National or the ANL report, and then convene a technical conference to review, and I don't really think we heard this come up. What OPC is asking for the Commission to do is review the incentive levels that are proposed in the Phase 2 proposal, I do want to take a step back and highlight a little bit more of what I think OPC started to get into, but just understand what we've kind of put forward already within this docket related to Phase 2. PEPCO filed its Phase 2 application on December 18th, 2024. Comments were called for on March 28th, 2025, and then we had a hearing on those comments and the proposals on April 9th, and then there was a supplemental filing based off of some of the comments and positions in that hearing on April 24th, 2025. In the interim, A&L or BGE really filed that A&L report on April 1st, and then staff provided their comments on A&L's report on June 30th, 2025. In addition, the working group was meeting once or twice a month since May, and also filed a working group report on efficacy and load management on October 31st. There is ample opportunity for the commission to review all of the documents in the record to make a decision on Phase 2 proposals, in particular the SCM proposal. There isn't another need to have additional comments and additional technical review to determine incentive levels for the SCM programs that PHI has proposed. In fact, the working group that has taken up this issue recommended that, and this is directly to, I think, Commissioner Suchman, what you were saying, the parties support the development of data collection and cost-benefit analysis at the midpoint and conclusion of the Phase 2 programs if the SCM and TOU programs are approved. So the working group has already recommended to the commission, and seemed to be a consensus recommendation here, that at the midpoint of the program that we undertake this data evaluation and review of the programs. And at that time, we can talk through the incentive level. Let me just go through here. So, to OPC's point that the companies are taking a one-size approach to their SCM programs, I think that's not quite right. There are various offerings like TOU and SCM, and they are very different, and they provide distinct value. And we see that customers are partaking in them currently, and we're trying to meet those customers where they're at. To refresh, TOU rates are cost neutral, and they recognize when, or they kind of award a customer when they are charging off or on peak, that it's to avoid impacts to the electric grid on peak. Whereas the SCM has the primary goal of reducing load in the off-peak hours to minimize those distribution grid impacts. It's not an on-peak reduction program. So one point I just want to make is these are two separate programs. The working group agreed that we should move forward with a TOU program and an SCM program. And again, the SCM program, once approved, can be evaluated at the midpoint. Related to the incentive level, the working group also took that up. And the companies provided a focus group where it indicated that customers are more likely to participate in the SCM program at the incentive levels that the Exelon Utilities PHI are offering. This is $10 a month. So there's really no need to, again, uptake another level of review, another technical conference to review the SCM program. These programs are customer behavior programs, and to your point, Commissioner Suchman, we want to get these programs going so we can build those customer behaviors as they're adopting their EVs. It's time to build participation and trust, and that's what we're doing, and that's why I started the conversation with what we're seeing from customer enrollment. Customers are wanting to be a part of these programs. So we want them in program or in place, and to proactively address those feeder constraints, and not roll it out retroactively after we've had a chance to get customers enrolled who are already interested. And the working group has agreed that we can do that evaluation at the midpoint of the programs. With that, I'll conclude and open it up for any questions.
So, questions for PEPCO, Commissioner Suchman?
Okay, so I just want to make sure, though, that when we're looking at the impact at the midpoint, that the effect on any grid constraints is part of what we're going to see in the analysis. That is a specific question that I'd like to have an answer to. How much has this helped or perhaps sort of made constraints worse. I mean, we want to know that as well. So if you can have that as part of what we see, that's very important to me.
I don't think that that's something that we wouldn't be able to do. I think I'm just referring back to the working group report. I think that there is, the development, the party support development of data collection metrics. So I think that that's something that as the parties are putting together those metrics, that they would, be collecting data on the midpoint, that could be included.
Yeah, that will be included. That's what I'd like to hear.
I think that you can certainly order us to that, but I don't see why we wouldn't be able to.
Okay, well, if you're having trouble getting that data, I'd like to know before we reach the midway point.
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
I don't know at this time whether or not that's something that.
Okay, because I can tell you that that's something that I'm going to be very interested in. So I just want to make sure that if there's a problem with data collection, that we learn about that before we see the report.
I think that we can certainly take that into account and make sure that that doesn't happen.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, seeing nobody else, does staff have any response to either what OPC said or what the company said?
No additional comments from staff.
Okay. And so just so we're straight, the requested extension is to the end of Q1 of 2026, correct?
That's correct. Or until the sooner of approval of phase 2.
Right, yeah. So, okay, I move we grant the extension authorizing the PHI companies to continue its managed charging programs. Commissioner McLean,
Aye.
Commissioner Linton,
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Barba.
Aye.
I vote aye. And with that, we're adjourned. And for those of you that are here for 9778, we're going to start at, I guess, 11 o'clock. So, because we need a little time to set things up. So.